What we're going to do now is receive some testimony or comments. And so what I'm going to do is go through a series of, I'll call for people who are in favor of the 2022 budget. Speak however you want to it. Once we have completed that, I'll call for it 3 times. I'll move into those who are opposed to the 2022 budget and call for that 3 times. And then move into the area for public comments. They're neither opposed or in favor of it, but they really just want to share some information with the council, which we always appreciate. And so with that, I know we don't have any other governmental agencies that are here because sometimes the county or the state could be here to comment. There's nobody in the room that I recognize from one of those agencies. So I'm just going to move forward with calling for anybody who would like to speak in favor of the 2022 proposed budget. So anybody who would like to step forward, just kind of raise your hand. Again, we keep it simple. Just tell us your name, tell us an address, share whatever it is that you'd like to share. Yes?
My name's Sandra Burke, Taylor's Falls, and 4 or 5 of us sat through the budget discussions. I thought the council people that were there did a great job, and I think the budget is very much in favor of the citizens, and I would ask for it to be passed.
Thank you, Sandra. And so with that, I'm going to call a second time for those who would like to speak in favor of the 2022 budget. And for the third time, anybody who would like to speak in favor to the budget. And so with that, I'm going to move into the next section, which is anybody who would like to step forward who is opposed to the 2022 budget. Anybody for a second time who would like to step forward and share that they are opposed with the budget for 2022? And for a third time? Sure.
Jerry Anderson.
Yes.
Government Street.
Yep.
I just had a question on HPC, and it was an $8,000 amount that should not have been on there.
Okay, it's a
It
what
just-
dollar
it
amount?
just- The amount came in 2018, and it went out in 2019, so it was should never showed up that we took it out of HPC.
Okay, so we'll make sure that we get you an answer to that, Jerry.
Yep.
And so with that, for the third and final time, anybody who is opposed to the 2022 budget. And I'll move into the last portion, which is anybody who just wants to speak, either not necessarily in favor or opposed, but just want to share whatever information they can with the council. We always appreciate your comments. Calling for a second time. And for a third time. And we'll note for the record, nobody spoke either in favor or opposed. Thank you for the comments that you have all shared with us. And so with that, I now am going to, we've received all of our public comments. And so I'm at this time going to request a motion to return to the public portion of our meeting.
So moved.
By Larry, second by Mary. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. And again, as I said earlier, we're going to discuss this at the December 27th meeting, 2 weeks from tonight. And when that happens, the council deliberates, we discuss the budget. And at that time, we can no longer increase the budget. All we're able to do is leave the budget as is, or we can make reductions to it. And so it's again, not a time for the crowd to jump in and help us out, although we appreciate that, but it'll be up to the council to make that. And I've been told before that that's what we're elected to do. So that portion is over. I'm gonna move right on down the line and I'm gonna stay right on task. The next item we have is public forum. And again, I have several sheets this evening, and so I'm gonna take them just in the order that they were provided to me. I have got one from Diane Gall, and Diane is in the back. And it says, letter to council H2O bill. I assume that means water.
Right.
Okay, thank you, Diane.
You're welcome. Steve and I sent a letter to all of the council and the
Can
mayor.
everybody hear Diane okay?
No.
No? Okay. Could you maybe speak into the microphone? Thank you.
We sent a letter to the council and the mayor on February 18th, and we just want to make sure that everyone got the letter. because we know Troy got it, and I made a mistake, and I sent 2 of them to Troy. And I just wanna make sure everybody, the other person that didn't get it,
Didn't get it.
Didn't get
didn't get it.
I didn't
They
get
were
it.
sent here to City Hall.
Was it dropped off at City Hall or
No, they
mailed?
were mailed to the city office, and Troy got his,
Okay,
so I don't know what happened to the rest of them.
I'm sorry, I never received a letter and I heard nobody else got letters, so,
Okay, I have a copy of it.
okay. Did you want to read it to the council?
No, I
Did
can
you? Okay,
bring it up and just make a copy of it.
okay. So,
And then,
all right, so there's a letter, go ahead, Diane.
And
Sorry to
so-
interrupt you.
The thing that was interesting to us is that Elizabeth called us on the Tuesday or Wednesday within the 23rd or the 24th, after the letter was mailed, and addressed it, some of the items that were in the letter. And so that's why we were like, where's this coming from? And if nothing, if you got the letter, we don't know,
Did you mail a letter to Elizabeth as well?
no,
Oh, okay.
no. I
Did you
only mailed
address-
it to the,
Did you address them individually to us?
yes, individually, and then what I did inadvertently, I mailed, sent 2 of them to Troy, so Troy had 2 of them. And I know that because Troy came to the house and talked to us about the letter. And the other thing, when we talked to Elizabeth about it, or when she called us right after, and she said, we're gonna get your water bill soon. We still haven't gotten it. We haven't seen it.
It was mailed.
And that was,
I'll look into it and get you a copy of it.
yeah, we haven't gotten it. And that's not the first time that's happened. We've had to call up and then we get it the next couple days, so this time, it's really late.
Okay, well, I do apologize that, we didn't receive a letter, so it's hard for us to comment.
Right,
Water bill, I know that's an issue that we're trying to resolve,
okay,
so.
good. It'll be helpful, because when you expect it at a certain time,
How long has it been since you received the water bill?
oh boy, maybe October, I don't know,
Okay.
September, October, it's been quite a while.
Okay,
So, can I let you know what happened? Unfortunately, our meter reader broke, and we weren't able to get the readings done. Normally, it would be done that very last week in October, and the bill sent out that first week in November. I had to work with Paul, we got a loaner from our vendor, but unfortunately, the bills went out late.
But I mean,
We
they
do
went out,
have
we still
an
had gotten ours.
We do have an issue sometimes where they get returned, I think they get stuck.
Did ours get returned?
I didn't see it, but yeah, this happens unfortunately with postcards, I noticed it happening quite a bit. But
Okay.
I can get that info to you.
Yeah, we would really like to have it, so we can get it paid.
Also, the reason that I called you was because I gave the letters to, Councilmember Henson. I just saw the 2 letters.
No, there would have been letters to all of the council members, because I addressed all of the councilmen and the mayor to City Hall, and 2 of them came here. I don't know where the rest of them would have gone.
Okay.
That seems strange.
would you
Yeah,
like me,
it's
I'm sorry,
kinda
go ahead, go ahead, I'm sorry.
But anyway, he just mentioned to me that I should check my voicemails,
Right.
that you could,
We had,
that I had maybe missed a
few
call
times,
from you
like
or
messages.
something.
Nothing was.
So I did check the voicemails and I did get your message, and I apologize because you had wanted to talk about the stop sign and the lights that were out, and I apologize, you wanted to talk about that at the last meeting. I didn't see any other messages. I saw a couple of hangouts.
That probably was, yeah. We weren't getting messages back, so we figured, well, try to call.
Yeah,
And we
I
answered the
just
phone.
missed that, unfortunately. Well, it is kind of nice, the way our voicemail is set up, it sends an email, but it's kind of easy to miss, I get so many emails.
Okay.
And unfortunately, I did miss your voicemail.
Okay.
All I can do is apologize about that.
That's fine.
Um,
I'm just really curious about those letters, where they,
Yeah, that is
because
really weird.
we had a return address on them, I think, Well, maybe we did.
Yeah, we did.
But anyway,
You said you did.
okay.
So,
Right.
Diana, would you like me to have copies of this made and
Sure.
then distributed to council?
Yes.
Okay, I'll make sure that
So
that
say
happens.
edit.
So,
Yeah,
okay,
right, thank you.
okay, thank you. Okay, and I'm gonna move on to the next area. This is Carol Schumann, and it says, provisional conditional Springs Inn license. So, welcome, thank you for your time.
My name is Carol Schumann. I'm a resident of Taylor's Falls. I live on 691 West Street. So after the November meeting, I left having some questions. And so I emailed those questions to all of the council members and the mayor. My question was, is the motion to grant the Springs Inn a license valid with it being provisional or conditional? At what point does it become valid? Isn't that a question that needed to be addressed? What if the answers from the zoning administrator are not satisfactory? I received responses to my email from 3 council members, and I appreciate that very much, thank you. However, the responses did not line up in agreement even with each other. Councilmember Murphy responded, the motion to grant the license was based upon the approval of both state and city inspections, clearing the way for approval. It was neither provisional or conditional. The answers for the zoning administrator were internal procedural questions that another council member had and were not even related to the license qualifications. Councilman Julikai responded, the conditional license is valid, and if any of the concerns prove otherwise, they will be addressed at the next council meeting. Council has the authority to review at any time if the license holder is found to be not in compliance of any ordinance. Council can ask for further clarification. Councilman Anderson responded, that is the question I had as well. It was not clear if the license was conditional, provisional, and the discussion did not clearly state if it was valid from this meeting going forward. So then I reviewed the meeting notes, and I saw, I'll read exactly from the meeting notes. There was a motion by Murphy, second by Julikai to approve the hotel license for the Springs Inn at a maximum of 20 rooms and a manager's apartment, with the condition that all of the questions brought up are answered satisfactorily by the zoning administrator this week. Motion carried 3-1 with Anderson voting nay. The motion states that the license was conditional, that the zoning administrator would satisfactorily answer the questions within the work week. So I don't see that this item is on the agenda for today's meeting, which again leaves me with the question, were the conditions met? Were the questions answered, or does it still remain to be a conditional license? I'm just asking for clarity.
Thank you, Carol. And I did get your email, I did not respond because I wasn't at the meeting, so it's hard for me to respond to something I didn't participate in. I'm not trying to put the, monkey on your shoulder, but, how do you wanna handle this?
For me, the next day I went and sat down with the zoning administrator and discussed all the issues, and, he told me the procedure it went through with the fire marshal and the building inspector, and I guess I was satisfied from the board perspective that everything was met. I mean, he might not have answered your questions totally the way, you were looking at it, but for me, it was a safety issue for the first floor. So after discussion, to me, I was satisfied that was all was necessary. So that's only my take on it, so.
Okay, Larry, how should we proceed with this?
Well, it's my understanding that the zoning administrator did address the questions and found that they were all satisfactorily answered. And so if we need to motion to remove the conditional portion of the license, then I would suggest that we do that either at the next meeting.
Do we need any clarification from our city attorney on any of this?
We may have to go to him for that, but
Kind of what it sounds like to me, so, but it's hard for me to say since I wasn't at the meeting, so. Mary, comments?
So what I understood it as, and I
clearly specified in the email back to Carol was that it wasn't conditional or provisional in the sense that we had internal questions that Councilmember Amundson needed to get addressed because the zoning administrator wasn't here. That would not have an effect on the license itself, because it was, did he pay $150 fee, where did he pull that out of, things like that. But the zoning administrator actually was able to answer, and before we even went to vote on it, it was clearly stated that this had to be done within the week before, answers had to be made before the end of the week so that we didn't delay this any further. The worry was that if we continued to delay it, that their lawyers would also seek situation for remedy. And it wasn't that I was worried about that as much as the questions offered were more related to what we do internally. Didn't have any effect on his property. He was evaluated. He was considered for the license both by the state and by our representative for the city, and he met those requirements. Further discussion proved that it was only for the second and third floors and not the first floor. He did not get a license to open the first floor. So if you wanna call that conditional, that, there was nothing that was conditional on it. He met the burden of the questions. What Troy had for him was not related to his license. It was more, how did we come to approve $150 assessment to him, and whether he knew it, that it was gonna come 2 months later, another assessment. All our licenses are renewable every single year. So, whether he started in February or he started in December, he would still be allocated that fee. It's a license fee that goes to all the different businesses, there's extra liquor licenses, everything is renewable every single year. So he's gonna be up in 2022 for another 150. And it's my understanding that the zoning administrator was able to say in the zoning book, he referenced that $150 in the zoning book. It wasn't out of the air. So.
Thank you, Mary. Just a comment before I get to you, Troy. And that's, I can tell you based on my talking to the state fire marshal and the building inspector, is that when the state fire marshal approves his portion of it, it's for the entire building. And what he is saying is the entire building is fire safe. He's not saying it can be occupied, however. That comes from the building inspector, which is Jack Kramer. And what Jack Kramer has said clearly is that the second and third floor can be occupied, but the first floor cannot. Now, when the owner originally came forward, he was gonna open the entire building as a motel. And I made it very clear to him that I wanted the entire building done before he opened that as a motel for occupancy. And somewhere along the line, they changed their mind, and they decided only the second and third floor are going to be motel and occupied. And so we're now in a position where that first floor cannot be occupied, and it will not be used as a motel. I suppose he could change his mind, but he again is gonna have to pass inspection to open that first floor. Now, the other thing that I've learned is that $150 charge, it's in the ordinance that the city adopted, but unfortunately it didn't make it into the fee schedule. That was a human error. It was not made by Elizabeth. It was not made by Steve Heff. It was prior to both them working for the city. But unfortunately, what's happened since it was pointed out to him is he's now saying, I'm not gonna pay the $150. It's a one-time fee only. Take me to court. You'll spend a lot more than $150. So I would say probably we're gonna need to reach out to the city attorney and say, how do we handle this? Because in January, according to our ordinance, it says $150 every year. Me personally, I would not take somebody to court for $150. We'll spend more than that in attorney fees. So we're gonna have to reach out to Patrick Kelly on that, get some answers for that, especially the opening it conditionally. I wasn't sure, but again, I wasn't here, so I'm certainly not gonna judge the council for that. But, Troy, you have comments on this as well?
Yeah, just a couple.
Okay.
That was my point as far as, the license fee being in the fee schedule, and it was not.
Right, it's not.
And the statute specifically said that for us to refer to the fee schedule.
Right.
And so that was my question there. The other point I want to make and request is that these answers to my questions be brought forward to the city attorney as well when they go, because I think he should see some of these. One of my other concerns was not so much that the first floor was safe, fire safe, or safe from starting a fire, was that the first floor is sound. My point was that the second and the third floor rests on the first floor.
Yep.
So if the first floor is not sound, then my question was, how can we guarantee the safety of our tourists, his guests, and anybody that might be staying there? And my concern was the legal ramifications of that.
Absolutely.
And the other point I wanted to make was that during that discussion, Councilmember Murphy offered to refund the $150
I
to
said,
Mr. Burgett.
oh, excuse me, I said if that comes to pass, we would find a way
Okay,
to do that.
so I just wanted to make sure if that was still your position. Can that be the council's position? I don't know if we can really do that.
Probably a good idea to run that past the city attorney as well. So, anything else, Roy?
That would be all.
Thank you, sir. Just so that you're aware of it, when I talked to the building inspector about the foundation, he has assured me that the entire foundation is sound. In fact, Mr. Burgett has exceeded what was necessary to make a strong and secure foundation. So is the entire building safe? Yes, it is, according to the building inspector. So, with that, I'm gonna move on to the next item for public forum. This is Kevin Schuman, and this may have already answered your question, but maybe not, since we amended the agenda. The microphone is all yours. Good to see you, Kevin.
Yes, the agenda item addresses my question, and that was just wanting to know the status of the investigation report and how that we would find out about that.
Yep.
And so my question is, as the meeting is set for the hearing of the report, or whatever, will that be a public meeting, or how will the public be informed of the results of the investigation?
Okay, thank you, Kevin. And when we hit that item on the agenda, we'll make sure that Ross addresses that since it's his agenda item.
And then also just the question that I have about that is, would the public be notified in advance of the council making a decision on it, so that we could?
Yeah, all city council meetings have to be published, and therefore there would be notification, and they have to be posted just like any meeting. So, and again, we'll let Ross speak to this. He's got all the details. I don't know. So, but we'll make sure he addresses all that. And if he doesn't, raise your hand in the back and interrupt him. Thank you.
And
Okay.
I have permission to do that?
You, absolutely,
Thank you.
absolutely. And I have, from Don Lawrence, it says office help. So, Don, microphone is all yours.
I just have a softball question. The agenda, or the budget for next year, I believe is allocated money for extra office help. And then maybe it's my assumption that this hasn't been approved yet until the next meeting.
That's correct.
So it's really an addition.
Yep.
Are you gonna advertise for help, or how?
Good question. Are you looking for,
No,
okay.
I'm retired.
You know what I thought, it's not your line of specialty. But yeah, we'll have to approach that in the future, it'd have to be on a council agenda, and it'd have to be in an open meeting. We can't just say, hey, we're gonna hire somebody without it being part of the council meeting.
Yep.
Yep,
Okay,
so
so
you'll be aware of it.
newspaper or something.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you, have a great evening. We have Sandra Berg, who talks about open meetings. Oh. You can talk from there if you're more comfortable, Sandra. or-
Yeah, I am.
Yeah, go right ahead.
You all know that I am an open meeting buff. Open meeting laws, are really the guarantee that we, the people, know that our government is being transparent and there's nothing going on behind the scenes. And I want to thank you. I know I wrote to, some of the council people, because I was concerned about that, but especially during the budget meetings, it was very, very apparent that, Ross and his crew were trying very hard to understand and to, adhere to the open meeting law. And I just wanted to say, I really appreciate that. I don't expect perfection, I just expect that you try. And I think that was a very good thing to do. The other thing I wanted to talk about is it concerns me a great deal that the municipal code is not up to snuff. There is no way that a citizen can come here and look at the municipal code book and answer any questions. I believe during the Springs Inn talk that we just had from Carol, these questions would not be as prevalent because you could refer to the municipal code. But particularly, the zoning code is not in there. And that I don't know if you people ever anticipate any development here, but there's a lot more to it than just development. There's roofing and outbuildings, and I really would encourage you to encourage the zoning administrator to get that in. And any other changes that need to be made, I don't know. Usually zoning codes get changed a lot, but usually the municipal code doesn't change that much. Maybe one time each year or something, probably less than that. But if we could just get that all together, it would be very much appreciated.
Very good, thank you, Sandra. I appreciate that recommendation, and we will certainly look into that, talk to Steve Heck about that. And I'm on to the last one here. This is Brian Berg, who talks about code of conduct. You can stay right there if you're comfortable there, Brian.
I don't publish Shadow Sandra, so I'll just stand right here.
Yeah, you go right ahead.
My concern is about the code of conduct. The company that I work for had given each employee a handbook which included a framework section on code of conduct. The framework section has one common thread that's universal in all misconduct, which is discipline up to, including termination. Does the city of Taylor Falls have a code of conduct for its council?
The answer is yes, we do, and we've all signed it.
I'd like to see a copy of it.
Sure,
That's
it's
up
on
to-
file at the city here, so you
Is
can
it
certainly.
one page?
Pardon me?
Is it what, just one
I'm not
page?
sure Elizabeth would know more about that. You can reach out to Elizabeth at your convenience, and I'm sure when she has the time available, she'll make it available to you.
Thank you.
Yep, we all signed that. Okay, so with that, we've completed all of our public forum. I'm just gonna start marching right down the line here. I'm going to, look at our consent agenda, which we will need to approve this evening. So is there anything that anybody needs to change on the consent agenda? And the one thing that I want to note for the record is that the approval of our minutes from our previous meetings include April 12th, May 10th, and November 8th. So if we could include those dates, that would be good. The other item on here for consent says set the date for our second meeting. We always have a second meeting in December, but thank you, Elizabeth, for noting that, because that's when we're gonna talk about our 2022 budget. Okay, so with that, a consent agenda, if there's no more changes, for the record, it is the approval of those minutes I just spoke about, staff reports, our commission and board reports, our correspondence, our approval of claims in that last meeting in December. So with that, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion.
By Troy, do I have a second?
Excuse me,
I'm sorry?
Did you get the?
Oh, yes,
Fire
thank you for that,
contract
and
on
also
there?
the fire contract, sorry about that.
I'll make a motion again, yes.
Thank you, and do I have a second? By Larry, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And I'm on to the first item on the agenda under new business, which is we are hiring a public works superintendent. And we conducted 2 interviews. It was on the 1st of December. It was in my office. We interviewed, in my opinion, 2 very good candidates. I think that the city would have benefited from hiring either one. In fact, I wish we could have hired both. It doesn't turn out that way. We did have a question that was raised. It had to do with PIRA. And the question that was raised is this council allowed to offer an individual who is already drawing PIRA less money per hour than an individual who is contributing to their PIRA? Because when you start contributing to PIRA, when you start drawing from PIRA, you're no longer allowed to contribute to it, kind of like an IRA. And so what we found out, and there was an email that was sent, and for some reason I don't think it went through, so I had Steve resend it. It's comments from our city attorney. He reached out to the League of Minnesota City, and they essentially said, PIRA really is not a determining factor in how much you pay an employee. You cannot pay this person more than this person because this person is drawing PIRA. That's discrimination. And so there's an email from the city attorney. He referenced the website from the League of Minnesota Cities. I actually printed out working after retirement section of it, and it does say that the individual who's drawing PIRA, that they have to watch how much money they make, otherwise it can affect their PIRA. And the way it affects their PIRA is they are not allowed to draw as much out at that particular time. They'll get it at a later date, but they're not allowed to draw that amount without basically like a penalty. And so what we did agree on with an answer to that, and it wasn't everybody that agreed, was that we would offer the position to Mike Kriz. He is our former Public Works Superintendent. At his interview, he had indicated to us that retirement was not really working the way he thought it would, or something to that effect. He wanted to return to the city of Taylor's Falls. And so I did contact him, made him the offer, it was at $32.57 per hour. Mike has indicated to me that he could start tomorrow. And so with that, I'm gonna turn to council, and I'll start with Mary, the other liaison for personnel, or pardon me, for public works. So your comments on this?
I agree that we did have a couple of really super candidates. What leaned towards Mike is that he got right back at the set. And you can just do it like you just never left. And starting tomorrow is up to when the personnel liaisons, or excuse me, the
Public
public
Works.
works
That's us,
liaisons
that's you and I.
chit chat, and figure it out what works best on a payroll schedule and whatnot.
Okay. Thank you, Mary.
I plan to stop by tomorrow because this is the only opportunity I have. That was on my agenda, my notes last month, to visit, actually, to do a meet and greet. So if you're there tomorrow, I will see you, otherwise I'll keep with Paul.
Okay, thank you, Mary. Larry, comments?
Yeah, well, the two candidates were very close. What's strong for me is that Mike knows the city underground and above ground, and got a great experience, working and keeping the city running. And so, Mike was my choice.
Thank you. Troy, comments?
Yeah, I actually, I agree. We were blessed to have two candidates that had this much experience in public works. I remember speaking to one of the references who had full knowledge, because public works is a tight circle, everybody knows everybody else. And they did say that you're gonna have a tough decision to make. And I think that's true. We had two candidates that really knew their job, had a lot of experience, and could really take control at any time. And had a lot of, like I said, a lot of experience, working knowledge with it. I did, however, do some research, and I found out that the evaluation forms that we were given were not compliant with state statute, particularly in the form of veterans points. And that does concern me, and I do not want to, I think we should have had some, a little less negligence on the part of city staff person. I think we should have had, the evaluation form should have been up to state statute, at least. So, I am concerned with that. Like I said, I congratulate, Mike on his return. I am in opposition to this because I think, the city should be in compliance with state statute, especially when it comes to awarding veterans preference points in evaluation. We need to be fair to both of our candidates and applicants, and we certainly need to be fair to our veterans, so, but thank you.
Thank you, Troy.
Could I
Ross?
say something real quick?
Go ahead.
I did update the job application, and it did have the correct veterans place on the job application. I did not take care of any of the other paperwork involved with this.
Yeah, and I'm referring to the evaluation forms that we all got. They were sent by the zoning administrator to the council.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Okay, Ross, comments?
Yeah, it was a really good interview, two great candidates. I think the other one did an excellent job also. Mike was the one that voted that was probably the most suited, probably because of experience and everything, so, I agree, you're by far, you know everything in the city, like Larry said, above ground and below ground, so, you're the best candidate, and, talking to the maintenance assistant, he'll get you trained back in again.
Excellent. Thank you, Ross. And one last thing for council to note, and that's I did receive a phone call from the other applicant who withdrew their application. And so with that, I'm going to call for a motion to approve the hiring. It is Mike Kriz. It is for a full-time position as our Public Works Superintendent. It will be at a pay rate of $32.57 per hour, and his start date will be tomorrow. Okay, so December 14th of 2021. So do I have a motion to approve? Mayor Keith, and a second from Larry. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Opposed?
Okay, and that motion carries 4-1. Thank you. Good luck, Mike, especially on the training part. Okay, so I'm on to the next item here, and this item, I have to pass this because we are on to the purchase of a utility meter reader. And so when this whole process started, this was when Larry and Ross were the Public Works liaison. We've changed those roles since that time, but I think they're the best ones to speak to this. Elizabeth has done a very good job of putting this information together for us. As you can see on here, she's requesting the approval of this purchase. I'm sure she'd like to have a meter reader that works. It's a good thing for the city. So, Larry, you want to start with this?
Well, we have to have a meter reader that works. And the one that's been suggested is called the Field Logic handheld model FL750X. It looks to have all state-of-the-art features and will ensure accurate meter reading of water bills. And also, we had budgeted for this in the 2022 budget meetings. And so we can order the meter reader now, and if it comes in after the first of the year, we can pay for it with the budgeted money. Or if we get it before the first of the year, we have the ARPA money to pay for it in our fund. So it's my recommendation to go ahead and order it.
Okay, do we have any idea when we can take possession of it?
I think Mike, Paul said we could maybe get it before the end of the year so that we could actually use it towards the January meter readings.
Okay, and I'm sure Elizabeth would like that as well, to have it that quick, so. Okay, Ross, comments on this?
Yeah, like I say, we've been dealing with it for a long time. The old one just failed. It just got so old that you can't fix old computer parts.
Okay.
So anyway, like I say, get it on order, need a new one. The ARPA should qualify because it's for us, water and sewer. So it's your water bill. Like I say, it's about $7,200, and it's something we dearly need to speed up the water bills process.
Thank you, Ross. Troy, comments on this?
Sure. So this obviously must affect our ability to get water bills out. It's been a problem. When was this problem, when did it start being a problem?
Says here in October.
October.
Yep, it says in October, the meter reader failed.
Okay, it looks like.
Paul has a loaner.
Okay, it looks like Paul mentioned this in July and August of this
Yep.
year, so.
So we started budgeting for it, but we weren't having problems with it until then.
No, it's good. I think we should get this going, especially with some residents coming up complaining they're not getting, legitimate complaining if they're not getting their water bill. So I hope that resolves that situation.
Okay.
Good idea.
Sounds good, thank you. Mary?
I agree, we need it. I'm not necessarily sure that it's gonna resolve any billings, that go out, because I know I've in the past had cards hooked to another card and didn't get mine, where I had somebody else's attached to mine, so that's a whole different focus on delivery, but hopefully it will solidify everything that we have in the bag to make everything more reasonably, and achievable.
Okay, thank you, Mary. And Ross, you have a recommendation on how we pay for this?
Yes, I think we should pay for it through the ARP allocation money,
Okay,
because it does qualify,
okay,
and will be in the next year budget, when the allocation comes through. We actually have the money right now.
okay. Sounds good.
I
All right.
suggest we pay for it through that, because that's what it's designed for.
Got it. Anything else, Ross?
That's it.
Okay, so with that, it sounds like we're all in agreement, we're gonna move forward. I'm gonna call for a motion then to authorize the purchase of the Field Logic handheld device. It's that model FL750X and its accessories. It's at a cost of $7,200. The purpose is to be used for water, utility, and sewer meter readings. It will be paid for from our ARPA allocation money. So motion to approve. So moved by Mary, second by Larry. Further discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. And we're on to the next item, which I really didn't look forward to. This is the retirement of our building inspector, Jack Kramer. And as most of us know, Jack's been with us for many, many years doing the building inspections. Jack's last date is going to be the end of December of 2021. I do understand he's going to continue to do some work, but only in the area of Grant and Stillwater, so not in Chisago County. He has told me he will not leave us hanging, however, and that if we need him through the rest of this month, he'll fill in as he can possibly fill in. So at this point, I think all we have to do is accept his resignation with thanks and move on to the next item. So, anybody have any comments on this?
Just a great thanks. I haven't been here that long, and I know Jack's got a great, very hard worker.
Excellent, thank you, Troy. So with that, I'll call for a motion to accept with thanks the retirement of our building inspector official, Jack Kramer. It is as of December 31st of 2020, and I want to thank him for his service to our community. So do I have a motion to approve this? So moved by Ross, I have a second by Larry. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And that leads into the next item, which is we gotta find a building official to do inspections. And I've already been in touch with Chisago County based on Jack Kramer's recommendation. And the county asked for some information such as, well, how many permits do you pull per year? And so I asked Steve Head to provide that to Kurt Schneider at the county. Haven't heard anything back, so it's on the agenda for us to begin negotiations, is what we're doing, because we gotta have a building inspector. Jack won't be here forever. And so this doesn't guarantee, just because I've chatted with the county, they're gonna provide it. They don't have to by law, but I'm told the state does. So if it fails through the county, we have to go to the state of Minnesota and go, need a little help here. So we'll have to figure that out along the way. So, Ross, you were real heavily in public works and building inspecting stuff and know all the code stuff. Your thoughts on this? You're a master electrician.
Yeah. No, I agree, just try to go through the county or some independent person comes along, like you say, that I want to take Jack's place.
Okay.
That's fine with me, as long as they meet all the qualifications. I mean, they have to have years of experience in building trades, but yes, we need somebody as soon as we get them.
Okay, so who should we use to do the negotiations to try to bring somebody in to, and we can put it on the agenda as soon as we're ready.
I guess Steve Heth, because he's qualified, you know, with all the zoning issues like that, and yourself, because somebody in the council, you know, needs to represent the city, so I'd suggest the two of you.
You're really good at that, aren't you? That's called passing the buck.
Yep.
But that's
I'm
okay.
good at it.
I have no problems with that. So Larry, thoughts?
I agree with Rose.
Thanks. Not a problem. So Barry?
I agree with Ross.
Okay. Anything else you wanted to add, Larry?
Well, no, we just have to go somewhere, we need a building inspector. So,
Right.
you know,
I agree.
whether it's Chisago County or, somebody steps up with the right qualifications, you know, we can do that as well. But, you know, Jack performed, yeoman's duty for the city for a lot of years, it's gonna be big shoes to fill, but, we do need to fill them.
Now, I have been told by Jack that there are private contractors that are capable of doing this. However, whether they're willing to and able to provide the service we look for specifically, Jack said, probably not too good of a chance for them. So, comments on this, Troy?
Just wondering about compensation, how do we compensate this, so do we know that yet?
Yeah, we do. That's a tough one because with Jack Kramer, the money came into the city and a portion of it went to Jack, 75% of it, is that right, Elizabeth? And then we kept a portion of it. And from what I'm told by the county, and they're gonna wanna keep all of it. So any money that comes in to the city in the form of a building permit, it will go completely to that person, but that's part of the negotiations.
So it's based on the building permits, and that's why they.
It is, yeah,
Okay.
it is, yep. So, everybody comfortable with this then?
Yes.
Okay, then I'll call for a motion then to approve, having Steve Heth, our zoning administrator, city coordinator, and myself begin negotiating and hopefully come up with an agreement with the Chisago County for, building official services. And if we're unable to do so, to come forward with a recommendation for somebody to be our building official. So sorry about that lame motion, but do I have a motion to that effect?
So, second.
I have a motion by Larry, I have a second by Ross. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And we're on to the next item on the agenda, which is a resolution. And this is something that we do, I believe, every year. This is a resolution, and we can't do it by consent agenda because it's a resolution. We have to approve them in an open meeting. And so, as you can see here, the resolution specifically says where our polling place is. It's here at Taylor's Falls. We're not looking to change that. So, this is pretty simple to me. Is everybody comfortable with the verbiage and the resolution?
I'd like one thing changed.
Go ahead.
It has me signing off on it.
Okay.
And really, you should be signing off on it.
Okay, well, you're right, since I'm running the meeting, that signature just gets changed to me, I'll sign
Then
that.
if something goes wrong, it's your fault.
Okay, that's fine. So, okay, so with that, the resolution looks okay to everybody, I'll call for a motion to adopt Resolution 21-1201, which establishes our precincts and our polling places with the signatures by the appropriate people as indicated by the vice mayor.
And so moved.
I have a motion from Mary, do I have a second?
Second.
From Troy, those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion carries. And I'm on to the next item, we're getting closer to the end. It is accepting the American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA dollars. And as some of you may know, is that the city may receive up to $109,407.54 in ARPA dollars. We have already received $56,498.92. We have to accept this by resolution. I don't know why we wouldn't. And so those dollars can be used for that water meter. And so with that, any comments on this?
On this one, it'd be the same thing if we put your name on
Okay, so you want the name changed from yourself to myself on the resolution, which is fine. Comments, Larry?
I recommend we accept it.
Okay, so you recommend we accept it. I have a motion to that effect. Do I have a second?
Second.
By Mary. Further discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We'll always take free money. I know it's never free. Okay, we're on to the next item on the agenda, which is an amendment to the purchase agreement for the downtown commercial property. And so what has happened is Steve Heth received a request. He did forward this to Elizabeth for the agenda. And what's happening is the buyer is having difficulty getting the soil borings completed on time. It actually expires tomorrow, December 14th, which is a 90-day free look period. The reason they're having difficulty getting the soil borings completed timely is because availability of contractors. They're just not available. And so what they're asking for is an extension to the 14th of January so that they have time. They have told me that they know it will be done by then. They've actually given some dates. This has been run by Chad Lemons for his comments. I did talk to Chad and asked, is this unusual? His response is, it happens all the time. But again, it's up to the council on whether we want to approve extending this. So I'll start with Troy. Comments on this?
Oh, thank you.
Yep.
I went back to the original purchase agreement. It does say under seller's documents, section 4,
Yep.
that the failure of the seller to deliver the above materials within the required time period shall automatically extend the inspection period. And one of those materials is all reports, documents, and surveys regarding tests of subsurface soil and conditions, which would be soil boring, obviously.
Yep.
So this property has never had this test done?
Oh, yes, we've done soil borings, but when somebody's gonna build a building, they have to hit the exact spot where the footings or geopiers are going to
Okay.
go. And if it's off by a foot or even 2 feet, those soil borings don't help them, so they have to go specific to the geopier location.
Okay, but it does say within 10 business days of the day of this agreement, which was September 15th, the seller shall deliver to the buyer the following materials.
Yep.
So shouldn't we have provided those?
We
to the
did,
buyer?
and we did.
Okay.
Everything was provided, but the soil borings that we performed years ago were not in the exact location where the buyer needs to put the geopiers.
Okay. So, but the buyer did receive the documents from the city?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. And that was one of the requirements when we actually signed the contract for the purchase agreement. Yep, so they had everything was delivered in good order.
And I do want to note that the attorney has told us that the only term of the purchase agreement being amended is the extension of the inspection period to January 14th. And make a note that because I abstained from the original purchase agreement, I will therefore abstain from any alterations to that as well.
Okay, not a problem, thank you.
Thank you.
Yep, okay, Larry, comments?
Yeah, I think anything that we can help move this project, keep this project moving forward, we should, be positive with. And so it would be my recommendation also to extend the date to January 14th. The project is a great benefit to the city.
Thank you, Larry.
So I think we need to stay on top of that.
Okay, and Mary, comments?
I agree, because, if there's not people to do the job, that onus can't always fall on the buyer, if you just don't have people to do the project. And we need a handhold as if necessary,
Okay,
because it's instrumental to our city.
okay, thank you, Mary. Ross, comments?
Yeah, I agree with that. Being in the construction industry, everyone's behind. I mean, it doesn't matter what category you fall into. Everyone is, I mean, 1 month is, nowadays it should be 2 or 3 months usually. The people are actually that far behind, besides material, the contractors are. So I don't have an issue with it at all, because that's where the industry is at. Everybody can't keep up.
Thank you, Ross. And I'm in agreement with this too, the extension. The only thing is, if you note on page 2 of the purchase agreement here, we need to switch those roles where it says buyer and seller, because the city of Taylor's Falls is not the buyer of the property, and the seller is not Amy. Thank you for that catch on that, Elizabeth. So we,
Who drafted the document?
I'm not too sure if this was their change to it. I believe it was their change
So
to
was
it.
the attorney that,
No, it was their attorney.
okay.
Yeah, it was
the buyer's attorney.
The buyer's attorney who made that mistake, and that's been brought to their attention.
And,
And the other thing was the county.
the county.
Yeah, the county was in there incorrectly too. It has us in Washington County, which would be a good thing because they have a lot lower taxes in Washington County than we do. So I'm in favor of this with the changes on here. I'm gonna call for a motion then to approve the First Amendment to this purchase agreement. It is between the City of Taylor's Falls and Amy Renee LLC. It is for the downtown commercial property. We are extending the inspection period to January 14th of 2022. So motion to approve
So moved.
by Mary, do we're on to the next item. This is a discussion item. This is, Troy requested this. It's a discussion about the minutes on the website.
Yeah,
It's all
so,
yours.
thank you.
Mhm.
So tonight we're approving April, May, and November. So those will be posted on the website.
Yes, I would say at the convenience of the city clerk when she has time to do so.
Okay. And then, well, that's kind of what I'm wondering about, is it a lower priority for her, or?
You know, that's up to Elizabeth. I'm not gonna sit here and say, hey, you gotta have these on there by tomorrow. That's not fair. So I would say, based on her schedule,
Okay,
yeah.
I got
And
it.
she knows the importance of getting them on the website.
Okay, good. I have a screenshot here, we're missing, we're missing April and May we're getting tonight.
Yep.
We're also missing July, we approved those in November, so I would assume those will go up soon.
Okay, yep, I would assume that.
Okay, and then, we're just missing, September and October. So I'm just wondering is this possible? I know we had some residents speak about staffing efficiency issues. Is this something that we need to look at? Is this a problem for getting these minutes up? And I was just wondering if the staff liaisons want to comment on that, or
Do you have comments on that, Ross or Larry?
do we need some help in the office?
Well, I think that's a separate issue that should, maybe to just be discussed at a future meeting. But for right now, she's doing the best she can. She will address this issue, when she gets the time to do it, so.
Okay. Do we know how many hours she's putting in? Or
She works 40 hours a week.
she gets paid 40 hours a week. I'm just
Absolutely.
wondering how many hours she's putting in.
Yep.
We don't know.
No, I don't know. So,
Do you want to comment
Sure.
on how many hours you're putting in, or?
I think she's getting paid for 40 hours, but I think she's
She is.
working pretty hard,
yep,
you know.
she's doing the best she can do.
Okay. Well, that's
Okay.
good.
I am
Yeah.
like the only person in this upper administrative office. I'm basically doing my job plus Adam's job, and I have been for 2 years. And we are continuing to fall behind, and I have brought this to the attention of the council for the past year. I am continuing to do the best I can. I am told I'm not allowed to work overtime. Little secret, do you think I'm not working overtime? Things are still getting done, so.
Excellent, thank you, Elizabeth. Okay, I'm gonna move on to, are you done with the website
Yeah.
stuff? Okay, thank you. I'm gonna
Yeah.
Move on, I'm sorry.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
I'm done.
I'm gonna move on to the next item, which is the purchase of software. This is for the fire department. Troy, you can probably speak to this, and we have the chief here as well, in case anybody has questions for the chief.
Well, this stuff, sounds really cool. This software will track the monthly Department of Transportation and NFPA safety and operational inspections for our trucks, fire equipment, so we're talking hoses, tires, and basically just let the department know when things are coming out. And I kind of liken it to my Outlook calendar, or even my calendar on my phone, and to be able to set reminders when things are coming out. So I think it's really a good idea. It's really going to be beneficial to the department and help Jake and the whole department keep things on track. So I strongly approve of this.
Thank you, Troy, and I've just got a question of the chief. Is this something you found? You seem to be really good at finding grant dollars for us, maintaining equipment. I've told you before, you do an outstanding job, so.
I've got a lot of resources and contacts.
Good. It's good to have resources and contacts, so.
Well, it should be really good. It'll also budget out for equipment expiration dates, it'll budget out how much needs to be allocated to make that replacement at that date. So,
Very
it
good.
helps keep everything on track.
Good, good. What's the condition of our equipment? Pretty good?
We're sitting pretty good. PPE wise, I got 3 more helmets to replace and we're sitting good there. Bumper is, 2026, we gotta make that move, but then we're after we round on that, so things are doing pretty good.
Very
Few
good.
minor things, but nothing major.
Very good. Thank you, chief. Larry, comments on this?
I think it's a great idea, it speaks to efficiency and getting out ahead of issues instead of waiting for the arise. So I think it's a good thing to have.
Great, thank you. Ross, as a former firefighter?
No, I agree, you know, office efficiency is very important.
Yep.
Manage everything, especially the history and issue going forward. It was always tough. Who's gonna sit down and do this, and keep track of this, keep track of that? If you have a computer program, it's so much easier. So it gets back to, you'll have more free time.
Yeah. Excellent. So, comments on this, Mary?
No, I agree. We've always had for the last 11 years, issues with the end of life kinds of things, equipment, and this would be the best way of tracking it.
Very good, thank you. So everybody's in favor of this. I'm gonna call for a motion to approve the purchase of the software. It is from Vector Solutions for our fire department. The purpose is to track safety and operational inspections. It is a cost of $1,200, and it comes from the 2022 budget from the fire department.
Fire equipment testing and inspection. Right?
Thank you, Troy. So further note that, Elizabeth, do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion.
I got it from Troy. Do I have a second? Second for Ross. Further discussion? Those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. And so now we're on to the last item on the agenda. This is something that's probably been long awaited. Ross, go ahead. We added this to the agenda. Make sure that you answer Kevin's question out there, or he'll stand up and let you know.
Anyway, yes, we got an email to myself and the council members. The investigator is looking for a date to come and present a report, Cheryl Soda, and she gives the dates as December 29th, 30th, 31, January 5th, 6th, 10th, and 11th. Personally, I'd rather do it sooner. I don't want to get into January. We, I believe, waited long enough. The 30th is, 29th, excuse me, is a Wednesday. We have a meeting Monday. Maybe the Wednesday would be a good day, 7 o'clock. You know, if everybody can agree that that is a good day. And it's open to the public. It's an open meeting. So she'll present it to everybody in attendance.
Thank you, Ross. Dates wise, what dates on? Good? So
The Wednesday is good for me.
Wednesday, the 29th of December. Mary, is that good?
I'm on vacation that week, so any day is good for me.
Okay, sounds good. Troy, does that date work?
29th will work.
Okay, sounds good. And so with that, I'm gonna call for a motion for the vice mayor to call a special meeting for Wednesday, December 29th. What time do you want it for? 7 p.m.?
My next question?
Yep, at 7 p.m. It will be an open meeting to the public where the investigator will provide the report. So do I have a motion to approve that date?
So,
Do I have a second?
Second.
By Mary. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining is myself, conflict of interest, and that motion carries unanimously. I'll be here.
No, that's fine, 7 p.m.
7 p.m. Okay, so I think we've hit everything on the agenda. Hopefully we've answered everybody's questions. There are some questions that have been raised. We're gonna have to make sure we get back to people on that, good recommendations. I think we've hit it all tonight. Anybody have anything they need to share? Okay, I don't either. I wish all of you a very Merry Christmas, a happy holidays, happy Hanukkah, whatever it is that you celebrate. I wish you the happiest. So with that, I will now entertain a motion to adjourn. From Mary, second by Larry. Those in favor? Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you.